Okay, so in my bowl I've got 275 grams of room temperature water with 15 grams of sea salt dissolved inside. And to that I'm adding 170 grams of my starter. Now this starter is 100% hydration. It does look a bit stiff, but that's because it's been in the fridge overnight. Now we want to dissolve the starter in the water. Now obviously if this starter had been at room temp it would dissolve a lot easier, but either way you just want to keep working it round and round until all of it's dissolved. It's going to make it a lot easier when we go to add our flour. And in we go with 500 grams of flour. This is just a bulk standard off the shelf ordinary flour, no brand name or anything like that. But if you're interested, the protein content is 13.2%. Now the aim of the game here isn't to create a smooth dough at this stage. We're just going to bring everything together into a big shaggy mess, and you're just going to use your hand like a claw and just work everything together. I like to go around the side of the bowl and just give that a scrape down too. So we've just got a nice clean bowl where we can let this rest afterwards. Now this is going to be a relatively stiff dough. It's going to work out somewhere in the region of about 60% hydration. And the reason we don't want it too wet is that we're actually going to use our hands to move these dough balls around and cook them, and you'll see that shortly. Now once we've brought all of these ingredients into that big shaggy mess, we're just going to cover this bowl up and leave it out at room temperature on the work surface for anywhere between 30 minutes to 1 hour. The exact timing isn't that crucial. It's just to give the flour time to be hydrated by the water and save ourselves a lot of elbow grease. And here's the dough after about 50-55 minutes, and as you can see it is quite stiff, so we're definitely going to need to use some muscle power here and probably give it a knead for about 4 or 5 minutes. Now really there's no right or wrong way to do this. I just like to push the dough forward, stretching it out and then rolling it back, and then I'll give it a turn and continue doing that, and gradually you'll feel that grainy texture of the dough change and everything will become a lot smoother as that flour becomes more incorporated with the water. Then it's time to work this into a nice tight dough ball, and we're going to pop that into the bowl and then make sure it's well covered. This is going to proof at room temperature for about 3 to 5 hours dependent on the temperature of your kitchen. It wants to rise appreciably, and then again making sure it's well covered, we're going to leave it for a long proof overnight in the fridge to really gain flavour. And here we are the next day. Now I've taken the dough straight from the fridge and I'm going to work with it cold. I haven't let it come up to room temperature or anything like that. And our first job is to get this divided up, portioned up and then formed into dough balls. Now my dough weight is 935 grams. So I've just divided that down by 9 and that will give us a dough ball of 103 grams. Now, of course, you don't need to weigh these. You can definitely eyeball them. But right now I'm going to get them weighed out, rolled out and then dipped in semolina flour. Okay, so here we are the next day. Now, when I finished shaping these, they were allowed to prove out on the work surface, covered with a plastic bag for 4 to 5 hours till they'd risen appreciably. I then popped them in the fridge, still covered by the plastic bag overnight. And then this morning I took them out the fridge and I've just let them come up to room temp. And now we're going to cook them. Now that cast iron pan has been set to heat number 3, and I'm gently going to dip them top and bottom in the semolina flour and gently place them in the cast iron pan. My oven has been set to 180 degrees Celsius. Now, we've got quite a low hydration dough here, but you still need to be very careful when you handle them. These are sourdough muffins, so they're going to take a little bit longer in the oven to cook than traditional muffins, probably somewhere in the region of 10 minutes. So as soon as that bottom starts to form a crust and they start to go golden, flip them over, and then we're going to slide them into that preheated oven, as I said, 180 degrees Celsius for somewhere in the region of 10 minutes. I rotated these once during the bake, and now I can tell they're cooked. They feel hollow on the inside. They're not all leathery around the outside, but they definitely haven't got enough colour on the tops and the bottoms. So I'm going to put them back onto the heat, still set at number 3, and continue to cook them until I get a nice golden brown colour on the top and the bottom. Now, there isn't an exact timing for this. You are going to have to keep checking these as you go through the bake. Okay, let's give the sourdough muffin a whirl. This is a great little muffin recipe, very similar to the ones I did in the video the other day that use standard baker's yeast, but this has got more of a depth of flavour, a chewier crumb that you'd expect with a sourdough product, and really benefited from that slow overnight proof in the fridge. Great little recipe. If you've got some sourdough starter kicking around, give these a whirl. Thank you very much for watching. Hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for my future content, and I'll see you again very soon. Stay tuned.